Hey guys, welcome to Lovecast the Podcast Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the Korean boys love series Color Rush. I'm your host Alexa, and with me are my co-hosts Pixie and Kayla.
Hey.
Hey.
Yay, hello. So Color Rush. For a little basic synopsis, Color Rush is about a high school student, Yeon-woo, who has a fictional neurological disease that basically limits his ability to see color. But all of the people with this disease have another person in their life known as their probe, who, when they look into their eyes, they can see color when they see that person's eyes. So the show is about Yeon-woo moving to a new school, and he meets Yuhan, who happens to be the person that is his probe. And so it's about him trying to avoid that because he always said he never wanted to meet his probe, but also them inevitably being drawn together and what comes of that. It is a short 8-episode series, and the episodes are only about 15 minutes each, and it can be watched on Viki. I believe that's the only place where it has English subtitles available, so you're going to want to watch it on Viki.
And it just released the movie version.
Yes, there was a movie version. From what we know, it didn't have as many extra scenes as the other Korean BLs tend to in the movie versions, but everyone was raving about there being a scene that really seemed to heavily hint at a season 2. So, and I know the production team has talked about having a lot of interest from overseas investors and stuff like that. So it seems like it might be on the table as something that very possibly could be happening in the future. So general spoiler-free thoughts on this one.
So I feel like just generally with Korean dramas, the level of production is usually very high and a lot goes into it when it comes to budget and things like that. And even though this is a smaller production, I still feel like the production value is very high for what it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like examples. Other than the fact that I don't know if this is it a spoiler to mention the color rush itself?
No, I think that's fine.
Yeah, it's like the first few minutes of the show.
So other than the color rush itself, which I feel like visually is a little cheesy. Like,
oh my god, I laughed so much the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
I was like,
weird.
I was like, what is going on here? But other than that, I just feel like this show is shot very well.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that's my thoughts on just how it looks aesthetically.
I did like the way, the color rush part was definitely pretty cheesy, but beyond that, I did like the way they kind of, when he was going in and out of the color rush, would blend like between him being able to see and it fading back to black and white, and points where there was both color and black and white. I feel like that part in itself was pretty cool, and I really like the way they put those segments together.
Yeah, it was really aesthetic to watch.
Yeah.
For me, the show, like, obviously the boys are like rookies to acting, but there were some stiffness, especially from the guy from the boys, Hyun. Is that his name?
Hyunjin.
Okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure his name is Hyunjin.
Yeah, I do feel like it's very obvious that he's a rookie actor, but I do think even despite that, he does a good job. And I think like the premise of the story is so interesting. It's such an original story that it just draws you in. And I just wanted to know what was gonna happen. How does this work? There's so many like discussion points about the story and just like things that can draw you in about how the whole color rush works and the psychology behind it, and just there's so much in this world that just you can speculate and you can build more on, which is why it makes sense for season 2. So yeah, I think it's, for me, it's super interesting story.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
world building was really, really good in it, and it definitely lends itself to a second season because there are a lot of aspects to the story that they didn't flesh fully out in the first season, and I think that they did that on purpose. It kind of seems like a show that was set up with the intention of more than one season. So there's a lot of things about, without going into too much detail, about the monoprobe and Youngwoo's family and stuff like that, that I think will, if they bring that season 2 into production, will take a much bigger role in that season.
Yeah, I definitely went into this series thinking it was going to be a lot more lighthearted than it is.
Yeah, it's pretty dark at times.
Yeah.
Very quickly, and I was not expecting that, but that's also what I love about it, is that it's a lot more complex because of the mono and probe relationship. Then it's just a lot more complex than this kid can see color when he looks at his probe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they did a really good job with, even though like Pixie said they were rookies and there's some stiffness there at times, I feel like they did a pretty good job with like portraying how intense that connection is. Like in the scenes where they were having, Yunwoo was having a color rush, or they were having like a moment or something like that. Like I feel like the chemistry and the way they portrayed the intensity of those moments was really good for who the actors are and how much experience they have.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I had some feelings like in some scenes where Johan is just, he's just there and he has a mask on like half the time. And it's still, there's this tension
His
that you
eyes,
just,
man.
yeah, you just feel the tension and it really draws you in.
He did a really good job. Like you said, despite having a mask on the whole time, I think he really utilized, and maybe it's just that he has like very captivating eyes to begin with, because like he's a gorgeous person. So I
Yeah.
think that really played to his advantage, and not being able to see most of his face most of the time. But like his eyes were super captivating in those scenes where they were kind of having those moments.
Yeah.
So, where would you guys put this on our scale of 1 to 5?
So for me, I wouldn't like put it on the top because I do have some issues with like the stiffness and yeah, just like it's kind of like a baby show. That sounds stupid, but it has a lot of potential that I think
Yeah.
they could utilize better. But I would put it at a 4, like watch it if you're bored, if you don't have anything else to watch. It's still worth watching, but I wouldn't say like go watch it right now.
Yeah, I was thinking like a 4 or a 4.5. It's definitely not like top of the list must-watch content for me, but for the shortness of it and it being just a web drama and stuff like that, I do think they brought a very interesting story, and it does have the potential to, I think, go further up on my watch list if there is a season 2 and some of those issues kind of get fleshed out more. So if that becomes the case, I would definitely say recommend watching it if there's 2 seasons that you can watch together. But still just
Yeah.
this one season, I would say like a 4 or 4.5. Like it's a decent watch.
Yeah.
I think I would say 4 as well, because even though I really like this series, it's just much like the other Korean BLs, it's too short. So the storyline is a little shallow, and that causes some plot holes and cliffhangers. But if there is a second season, then I think I would end up giving it a 5, because I really do love the uniqueness of the story. And there are just so many scenes in this show where I'm like, wow, I love this. I think about it all the time. So I think I would give it a 4 for now as one season.
So that's going to be it for our spoiler free section. We're going to go into more details from here. So if you haven't seen the series and you plan to watch it, you might want to pause and listen to the rest of this when you come back. Will be exclusive to our Patreon, so you can find it over there on the Lovecaster tier and above.
Yes.
So detailed spoilers.
I will say this, that This show, I watched it when it came out, and I haven't watched the movie version yet, but it still stays with me. Like, I still have scenes that I remember very clearly, and that doesn't happen a lot. Like, there's a lot of BLs out there, and I watch a lot.
Yeah.
So that it's stayed with me for such a long time does say a lot. My most memorable scene from this is actually when John Woo is sitting down at his desk and Johan comes from behind him and leans down.
Yeah.
That just stuck in my head. There is something with that scene and just like the tension and everything that just, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many scenes that really stick out to me. But actually, I really like the scene where Yeonwoo goes to the hardware store and he's buying all of the stuff like rope and hammers and things like that, and you think he's gonna like kidnap or murder
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Yuhan, but then it ends up being that, I don't know, he's trying to harm himself because he doesn't want to get in a position where he harms Yeonwoo.
Yeah.
I thought that was really impactful, and just like the fact that after that, when he ends up in the hospital, Yeonwoo still comes to like see him, and is like, "Oh, that's
he like
fine."
runs
like,
away to the countryside for him.
He's like, I just thought it was so like powerful that Yeonwoo is like, I might actually like kill you in the future, and Yeonwoo's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
I still like you.
Yeah.
That whole concept is very interesting to me. Just their dynamic that they have.
Yeah. I think that was the whole situation with Yeonwoo and being afraid of himself and what he would do to Johan. Do you think that was one of the things I would have liked to see expanded a little bit more? And I think it would have been obviously if they had more time. Because, like there was this point at the end of that episode, I think it was like episode 6, I'm pretty sure. It ended on that scene of him buying all the stuff at the hardware store and everyone was freaking out. Like, are they really going to go that dark and have him like kidnap him and stuff like that? And then like it kind of jumped to him having attempted suicide and being in the mental hospital. And I do think that there were hints of it there. Like he very clearly was battling with himself psychologically and the things that he knew about monos and what they had done to their probes in the past and stuff like that. But I felt like it was kind of a leap. I was a little bit like, oh, so this is where we are now type of thing. And there were a couple different moments like that in the series, which were obviously just due to it being so short and them not having the time for it. But that was like one of those quips that I have with it.
Yeah, I think that because you don't get to see a lot of John Woo's thoughts.
Yeah.
That really, certain things come as surprises. Like if you read the web novel, you would probably understand it better.
From his perspective, probably.
Yeah. So they could probably have done a better job at adapting it, just changing it up a little bit to make it more foreshadowing. I don't think they need to spoon feed people, but
no, definitely not. They
didn't give a lot of like foreshadowing for like him to do the suicide. Like no one saw that one coming.
Yeah. It was very it felt out of nowhere. And like, it does make sense when you think about it, but when it happened, I was just like, wait, what? This is where we are now? This is what happened?
Yeah. I think that like the only foreshadowing they had that it was suicide was that when he was doing the knot.
The knots, yeah.
Yeah, it's a suicide knot because it's one that you use for hanging yourself. But like normal people wouldn't know that. So that's like the only thing that actually shows that it's not like for killing someone else. It's for...
Yeah. Speaking of foreshadowing, what did you guys think about all of the, I guess, foreshadowing to what happened to his mom?
Yeah, that I honestly would really love to see more about because I feel like what happened to her or why she went missing and stuff like that is such an integral part of why Yeonwoo is the way he is, and obviously he and his aunt still been looking for her and stuff like that, and they definitely made it seem like it was a major point in the story. And then, you know, it just kind of didn't go much of anywhere because once again they have that time constraint that kind of restricts them from getting into details of a lot of stuff. But I feel like it seems like that'll be a big point of the second season if they do it.
Yeah, if you read the synopsis, it says, joining his aunt on her quest, Jeonwoo recruits Johan's help, and together they search for his mother. As they dig deeper into the mystery surrounding her disappearance, an unexpected story begins to unfold. So that's a part of the story that was never in the show. So I'm guessing that will be the second season. And I actually know what the extra scene in the movie, because I saw someone talking about it. It's he gets a call and about someone asking if he wants to know what happened to his mother.
See, that's so interesting. I just want to know more.
So that's like how the movie ends. So obviously that's foreshadowing for a season 2, but I do think also it took them really long time to get the movie out. Like usually it doesn't take this long for one of the Korean series to become a movie. It's like taken the longest. So I think it was because they were trying to get the sponsors in place so they could confirm the season 2.
Makes sense.
One thing I had a little issue with when they run away and they are together by the sea or whatever, those scenes kind of was really stiff to me. I sort of sat with the feeling that, okay, we're at the end of the show, but I feel like they just met each other. Because the chemistry in the earlier episodes just sort of vanished, and it kind of seemed like they probably filmed those scenes first.
Yeah. I mean, if they were traveling to like a different city or something for those, it would make sense if they just kind of filmed them, got them out of the way, and then did the rest of their filming wherever their main location shooting was.
Which probably was the school, right? So
yeah.
I missed a little more information about like the can you even call them a side
his two friends from school.
Yeah. Because I think in the book they are supposed to be a couple.
I feel like they maybe kind of hinted at it a tiny bit, but they were like we barely saw them.
Yeah.
But they were really interesting. Like the one guy sees his grandfather's ghost or something, or like he says he sees his grandfather's ghost.
Yeah, his grandfather talks through him.
Yeah, they were
funny. Yeah. And when we finally discover that Johan doesn't see faces.
That was a really good reveal.
That was so shocking to me. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, right? Yeah, because I was wondering through the whole show before that happened, okay, why is he so fixated on Jeonwoo and his colorblindness? Like, what is he getting out of that
For some reason, throughout the show, I thought that maybe it was because he looked at, what's his name? He looked at Yeonwoo. He looked at him and saw that he was like trapped in his circumstances as well. I thought that's what at first was drawing him to him, is that this person is feels trapped in their circumstances, and I feel trapped in my circumstances because I'm like this idol trainee and I don't really want to be doing it. So that's what I thought it was at first, is that he just related to him on that level. So it was really out of left field whenever he was like, actually, I can't recognize anyone's face but yours.
Yeah, and it kind of, when you think back at the beginning and like the first scene when he's staring at him in the classroom, you kind of, after knowing that he's like face blind, you kind of get like a whole different meaning to that scene, which is so interesting because you can see on the actor like you can see that he's like surprised that he can actually see this person.
I do think that there were other hints of it too. Like, I don't know if I'm remembering incorrectly, but there was like a scene where he didn't recognize one of his friends because he like wore his hair differently, or he was wearing something else like a hat or glasses or something like that, and like he didn't recognize him at first until his friend was like, hey, it's me. But like I didn't think anything of it at the time. I don't know why it didn't like stick in my brain, but then like going back and after he made that reveal, then it was like, oh well, obviously it makes sense now.
Yeah, and like in the first scene, because I started watching the movie, but I only got like 5 minutes in. In the first scene, the class president also tells Johan that, why are you kind of staring at this new guy? You don't see anyone's faces anyway.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch that the first time around at all.
I did not catch that at all either.
Yeah, I remember that now.
I was so surprised when I saw it now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the scene where that scene with like the bread and like the milk or something, I think that's the one where Johan didn't recognize his friend. I think that's the one.
Yeah, right. No, there's so much details and interesting stuff happening, even if it's short and even if it feels incomplete, there's still so much to unpack, and it's really, it makes a more interesting show. You don't see that a lot in boys love nowadays. Like, you're usually like spoon-fed a lot. But here there's so many details that you can just, like when we talked to Avenue X and she said like in Chinese BLs there's so much to unpack, so you just watch it over and over again to find new things, and I kind of feel like it's the same with this.
I think I definitely want to go back and watch the movie probably now, just to see if there's any other details that they maybe add in aside from that extra scene, and just like to see everything again from the beginning and see the other details that I probably missed out on, especially going into if there is a second season. I think it'll be really crucial to rewatch and especially catch stuff related to Yeonwoo's mom and her disappearance. But yeah, I'm excited if they do get that second season going. I will definitely be tuning in because this is one of my favorite of the Korean BL so far, and I'm really curious to see what they could do with the second season.
Yep, I'm excited.
All right, well, I think that is it for our full detailed review of Color Rush. If you guys have watched the series, let us know what you thought about it. Did you like it? Did you like it? What did you not like it? What details did you catch or miss out on that we might have brought up in this episode? And be sure to let us know what you would like to see us review in the future as well. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.